Africa Prime, brought to you by Jamison Select Reserve.
Welcome back. You're watching Africa Prime. Tonight we're speaking to Mr. Ndaba Ntsele. He is the president of the Black Business Council, but he's also a businessman in his own right, who started out selling newspapers in the streets of Johannesburg and built an empire that now includes coal mining, it now includes industrials, it includes aviation and defense. It's also in Namibia, it is also in Angola, and in addition to that, he is also into car sales. Auto Bavaria Midland is one of the companies that he owns. But before we talk about where he's come from, let's speak about just how difficult it was to build that business.
It wasn't easy, but another thing that I must emphasize, it was not me, because I don't like I, me, myself. It's we.
Who is we?
The partners. Yes, I'll mention the partners. I mean, when we started 1979, Pamodzi, those days the white government wanted blacks to be sole proprietors, and we wanted to defy that ideology of white folks. So we started Pamodzi, being three. It was Solisitole, Ncedi Manyoni, and myself. Right. And we started in construction in the township of building two-room garages, and there was that opportunity of 99-year lease. And then we started developing houses in the townships. In Mamelodi, gardens was started by us, from a farm to being in a consortium. Dobsonville Extension 3, again from a farm to township development, bulk services, and a big chunk of houses there were built by us. Sluma View in the East End, we built schools, we educated black building scientists. One of the first ladies who did a diploma in Atlanta Novella, who became a black building scientist in the 80s, was educated by us, so give a free bursary. Another one at Wits University was Gwazi Sitole. We give them full bursaries, and if they, after qualifying, they had a choice of working for us or going elsewhere. So sure. We're also developing kids. We built up schools in the township too. I mean, Siena Marena, Anglo-American, there's a school called Grace College. We put up really, really huge buildings. And it was up until the New South Africa, right, where there were different opportunities.
Right. So it was tough. It was difficult. What held it together for you during those dark years that we were able to continue working with your friends at the same time while being harassed by the government?
Yeah, you can. What helped us first was, for some reason, I think, is negotiating, because in relationship, right, we got funding from Standard Bank, Chacomare, those days, and it gave us a lot of marbles to play the game. I think it was about 4 or 5 million rands. And immediately thereafter, for a big project, that was 82, Chris Ball at Barclays Bank, he also gave us about 6 million rands. So 82, we borrowed a lot of money. They trust in us as entrepreneurs, that we are going to bring back that money. And then that let our company grow. Yeah.
When did you get the sense that you had, I don't know, did you ever get that sense that you had arrived, that, you know, this is it now, I'm into the big time?
Yeah, look, at Matric, when I was doing Matric, I had my car, a modest minor, so I arrived there. You know, imagine a student having a car. So that
most of them, if they have cars, it's because father or, mom has bought it.
I bought myself when I was selling newspapers, and of course, pushing these trolleys for checkers. Yeah. So the confidence started at a very, very early age. Especially to deal with finance. And then you grow. But I must be honest, the word arrive, because the ambition was bigger than arrive. Right. It didn't click in my head that I've arrived. Because when one was comparing oneself, I never compare myself with the peer group. the dreams were much bigger. So even up when I'm talking to you now, the dreams are still much bigger. And when one says one has arrived, I mean, you must be talking of really, really, really big numbers, and also having empowered a lot of people in the country.
Now, of course, you know, when you say you've arrived, for sure, you're right. You almost never arrive, do you? Because the dream is always to grow bigger and better. Yeah. But we'll speak about those dreams in a moment. I wanted just to get that sense. What is it that kept you ticking? Because I'm trying to understand, here's a young man, others are running around the streets, playing football, you know, those kind of things, and others are getting into all sorts of mischief. And here, you had this, you sort of get the sense that you were single-minded in what you were doing.
I played soccer with Jomo Sono at school.
Did you?
Yes, and I played with Webster Chava at school. And I went to play a professional with Leicester City. In
England?
No, Leicester City in Eldorado Park.
Right.
So I also did what
the other boys were doing.
The other boys were doing. But whilst doing that, there was always this sense of creating wealth for myself. And that maybe comes from my grandfather, where I was born. He was a wealthy man. He had a couple of houses. And as youngsters, we saw that my father too was an entrepreneur. My aunt was one of the, he had never worked for anybody in her life.
It was in the blood.
Yeah, so you saw that influence. And where I grew up, of course, around Orlando West, you had a lot of the Maponyas, people that you look at, the Reggie Klongwanes, the Chabu Vilagazi, a lot of guys that were working for themselves, and they were reasonably wealthy. Yeah. So they were highly inspirational to my thinking.
Yeah, and your personal motto is playing to win. Please explain that for us.
Look, there's every single game that you play, with due respect, you must win. People love winners, you know, at all costs. So it needs a lot of planning. If you're going to win any game, you must prepare 80% of your time. You must be planning all the obstacles that you might counter. And then you do your best and win, because human beings love achievers. That's the real world, and we copy good things from achievers.
Yeah. Now, you were telling me earlier about some of the work that you have done as the BBC, you know, the work that you've put in the community, and I would imagine you personally, you also give back at a personal level. Maybe first, just give me a sense of what you give, how you give back to the community, because this has been one big criticism of black business, that, you know, when we make it, we don't look back.
Okay, there are standing things that we do. For instance, during apartheid, there's a house that we built for a lady who was a domestic worker, a forum house in Mamelodi Gardens. That lady, she was able to borrow against her home and educate a child. Right. But the Chris Hani sports field there in Orange Farm was built by us at Nike. I was part of the Nike team owners. We put out Chris Hani sports field. It's still there. There's rugby, cricket, and now it's also being used for the old ladies to get their pension there. Right. It's standing. It was built by us. And then in Pafukang in Soweto, the past 7 years, we've been paying teachers to educate kids from as early as 7 years, mathematics, because maths is a very critical thing for us to become business people, become scientists. So there's a lot of program at VETS. We've got students. Some have qualified, chartered accountants, engineers. When it's December, we take students, and these students, we put them at VETS, and because we've got our Pamodzi Industrials, and we had food companies, so they must also go to the field, because theory without working is also not good.
It will not work. Now, you give back, but does black business as a whole give back enough, do you think?
Yeah, they do. In fact, I forgot one of the most important things that I did. I mean, I adopted the Soweto Business Council. I gave them a share at Anglo Nyosi and also Takalan. Right. Now, a lot of black guys, they do give. I mean, in the paper this year, it was advertised that Petis Mutsipe donated close to 100 million rands to people that are not as privileged as him in the country. That's including the chiefs, everybody. They do. Tokyo Sexwale, before he became a minister, Tokyo too, through Mvela, he was given. Another good example is Cyril Ramaphosa. He's done a lot in giving, including this back to school where we wear short pants and you donate. We do that a lot. And once we have, that's why it is important to create wealth. Because once you
and it's important for people to understand that you need to create wealth before you give it.
You need to create wealth, because if you don't have, if you are poor, cannot give.
Yeah,
so and the most exciting thing for wealthy people is to give. Bill Gates, but I can assure you, and I've mentioned just 4 names. We do a lot in our communities. The only thing that we don't do, we don't call in our corporate investment. We don't call press conferences. We just do it. That's it. Maybe we should change the strategy.
Please send a message from me to young, aspiring Black, White, Indian business people that are listening to you, who would be inspired by your story. What message would you give them, just to be able to make that critical difference between success and failure?
First, they must be patriotic. They must understand that they are all South Africans. Right. That is important, because they come from different families and the different influences from home. So the young kids must know that they are one. The second thing, they must not fear anything. They must not fear fear. They must do whatever they want to do in life, because we as a country, we are in the world map because of the likes of the Mandelas fighting for freedom, even when he's in prison. And now we've got a lot, we've got scientists in this country. We've got great history. I mean, the heart transplant started here in South Africa. Yeah. Yes, and so if we look at the heroes here, we've hosted the World Cup. There's nothing we're equal to. They must not have inferiority complex. Sure. They must be confident, and I can do it attitude must be in their head. You
know what they say in life, that in life you get 2 names. The one is the one that you get, of course, from your father and mother, and they call you Ndaba Ntsele. Yeah. Then the other name that you get is the one that you are called by people because of what you do. Yes. What would you like that name to be?
The name would
What would you want to be known for?
To have uplifted our people economically. That is key to me.
The economic liberator.
Yes.
The economic liberator that has helped people make that next step. Have you ever had to take decisions that you regretted afterwards?
No, you know what? Any decision that I take is I make decision is an experience for me, good or bad. I've got to take it. I never stand on the fence.
And then you live with the consequences.
Yes, I do.
It's been a conversation with a man who plays to win. That's his personal motto. But he's also a man who's been recognized by Ernst & Young. That was in 2007 when he was named an Entrepreneur of the Year. Now, of course, this is a man who's deeply respected within the business community. And just to cite one of the citations that he got when he won in 2007, they said about him, he combines confidence with humility in being able to convince people to part with their money. That's the man. Ndaba Ntsele, President, Black Business Council, as well as, of course, owner of Pamodzi Holdings. From all of us here, it's good evening.